you may not know when your time is going to come, but if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. As well as being one of TV's very first anti-heroes, Edward Woodward, who plays the Equalizer by one of my favorite actors, Denzel Washington, possesses a certain set of qualities and characteristics that I think every entrepreneur should adopt if they want their business to level up in 2023. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 qualities which are my favorite from the Equalizer 3. Let's go. So one of my favorite qualities about the Equalizer is that he's clearly very calculated. We have these famous scenes when he's about to get beat up by all the bad guys, and you can see him slowly assessing his environment, all of the people in front of him, their strengths, their weaknesses, to then determine what he should do. It's almost as if he's going into the future to figure out what the end outcome should be. And I think entrepreneurs should do exactly the same thing. I use the term engineering success. When I spoke to a mentee of mine just last week, they were talking to me about a goal and a milestone that they wanted to achieve. But when they started to describe the steps, it started to become quite abstract. And I stopped them and said, no, you need to engineer each one of those steps so that you are determining the outcome, so that you're reducing the risk of not meeting that goal. So what does that look like in practice? It means that, first of all, instead of looking at your goal as this woolly amorphous endpoint, break it down into actionable steps that you can put some kind of thinking around and figure out what could go wrong, what could prevent me from meeting step A, step B, step C. Who do I need to help me make each one of those steps a success so that I can meet my end goal? What can I absolutely do to meet those goals, and what are the things that I absolutely can't or that I'm not sure of? And for the things that you can't or you're not sure of, what can you put in place, be it a human resource, a system, a process, dare I say AI, to help you more deliberately meet each one of those steps. And then each one of those steps ultimately determine the outcome for you. Just like the Equalizer, go into the future and figure out all of the things that could go right and all of the things that could go wrong, and try to put scaffolding in place so that you could achieve a successful outcome. Closely linked to number 1 is number 2, which is timing. So the Equalizer has this entertaining precision when it comes to timing, and we often see him looking at his watch or some kind of timer to determine how long it's going to take him to bruck up these bad guys. He does it in every movie, and it seems to be this quirky little diversion that he uses to make the bad guys think he's a little bit nuts. So in business, you'll be familiar with the term that timing is everything. And there were so many examples of this. Just a couple of weeks back, I was at a show. It was a 50th rap show. And because the timing was all off, you ended up having 2 of my heroes, Big Daddy Kane and Kamanchi from Hijack, almost fighting on stage. On a more macro, less personal level, another great example of timing, which could be adjacent, meaning that you're not in control of the timing, much like the Equalizer, is Zoom. So even though we know Zoom blew up during the pandemic, they were going for a good decade prior. They didn't know the pandemic was coming, so they couldn't time it, but they remained default alive until their time came. And when their time came, they took full advantage of it, which is a great lesson for entrepreneurs, that you may not know when your time is going to come, but if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And more personally, during the pandemic, myself and my younger son had launched a YouTube channel called Ask Ultra.
Make sure to click that big red subscribe button, click the bell icon, and share this video with someone you love.
And within a short 20 or 25 videos, we managed to amass over 120,000 views and get some pretty good subscriber numbers. The timing for that allowed me to learn a few more things, which I've now fed into this channel. So you, as an entrepreneur, always think about timing. There's a startup incubator called Idea Labs. If you Google it, it'll come up, and I'll put the link in the description below. There's a famous TED Talk with the founder of Idea Labs, looked at all of the companies which they had invested in, and there were loads, some which were really successful and some which weren't. And he then went through which factors of those businesses made them successful. He named the company Idea Labs because he thought that the idea was the most important thing. But when they whittled it all down, ran the numbers, they found that the number 1 factor for a business's success was timing. Now, the third quality that I really love about both Denzel Washington and Edward Woodward's portrayal of Robert McCall in The Equalizer is that they are extremely unassuming. I mean, neither character look like an extra from The Expendables, which I guess in a combat situation could be a little bit like a secret weapon, but it also means that they just kind of look like a regular guy. But for me, what it also does in their persona is they come across like they are quietly confident, they have nothing to prove, and that they are really comfortable in their skin. Now, in the real world of business and entrepreneurship, from my experience, when you see someone who's kind of doing the opposite, who isn't quietly confident, who isn't comfortable in their skin, and they're kind of doing the most in one area of their business or another, it's usually to overcompensate for something which they aren't doing as well. I mean, you might see them wearing sparkly t-shirts or being really loud on social media, but all jokes aside, it's impossible for any business or any entrepreneur to have it all covered. But if you are going to overcompensate for an area in your business, or if you are going to focus on an area in the business, then I would suggest you focus on revenue and income, because that's a really hard metric and not a vanity metric like social media likes and followers, for example. Unless, of course, you run the maths and you know that those likes and followers go into a funnel, which then convert into a acquisition cost that you can measure towards revenue. So whether it's Equalizer 1, 2, or 3, one of the things that makes him such a hero is that he's not afraid to stand up to the big guys. So no matter which mafia group is going after him, just like an entrepreneur, his purpose in that movie is more important than the ensuing danger of all of these mafia goons coming after him. So where's the lesson for you? Well, if you don't want to achieve something big, arguably that's okay, but you should want to solve a big problem for someone or for a group of people. But if you're not that compelled to solve the problem, then it means that it's not that closely linked to a purpose that you really care about. In the movies, we can see that the Equalizer, particularly played by Denzel Washington, is usually trying to protect someone or something which is weaker or smaller. He knows he has the capability to solve that problem, much like an entrepreneur does. Now, I see entrepreneurs as mini superheroes going out solving problems for people that either don't have the insight or the resources. So think about it like that. The problem that you want to solve, people really need that solution. So maybe you can be their hero. And the very last quality that I absolutely love about the Equalizer is that he is calm under pressure. He has this stoic-like capability, and it even expresses itself when he's always smiling and laughing throughout the movies. Now, if you are an entrepreneur or a high-performing professional, then to be honest with you, stress is going to be your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It isn't about eliminating stress, it's really about how do you manage it. And from my experience, it's about how do you put the right perspective around what looks like a stressful situation so that it minimizes the pressure that you're facing so that you're able to be more effective in your work. And one of the ways that I do that is if a stressful situation comes along or something has happened that I really don't like, I kind of think to myself, well, look, the world hasn't ended, my head is still on, we can live another day. And even though that's a bit of a macro perspective, it's useful for me, but what it actually does for me is it allows me to stay calm so I can think more stoically about what has just happened, and more importantly, what can I learn from it, because I know another scenario like that, another stress like that is going to come, perhaps in a different form. And if I can take that learning when it happens again or something similar happens again, then it'll be less stressful. And if I compound that over time, then problems which were really stressful to me a year ago will be a walk in the park today. One of the reasons that I love entrepreneurship. So in conclusion, one of the reasons I love entrepreneurship so much is because in our daily lives, there are so many examples of how we can do better. If you observe highly effective people, be they athletes, business professionals, or the Equalizer, then there's something that you can take away into your own life and into your own business. Is there something about the Equalizer that you think is really cool as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a bad man? Then please let me know in the comments and I'll catch you on the next video. Ultra and out.